Now, we all know liberal media bias does exist, just about as much as there is a conservative media bias, although you could argue that the conservative media bias is much greater. But here's a good example of an actual, real liberal media bias. The Huffington Post, for example. Now, recently, during one of the debates, not the one that just happened, Mitt Romney told Obama that in his pension fund that he received as governor of Illinois, that there were things in there that he was investing in that went against Democratic Party principles that actually support the Republican Party. There's stuff in there, we're investing in companies that were pro-stopping abortion, stuff that he was also invested in for-profit colleges, and also he had invested in Chinese companies overseas. And that's one of the things that Mitt Romney is criticized for, the fact that he has tons of money put in companies overseas that invest in China and then invest in China himself, blah, blah, blah. Now, what the Huffington Post did was they didn't ignore this. What they decided was to write a piece that was actually defending Obama for doing the things that he criticized Mitt Romney for, and to defend him for investing in things that go against the Democratic Party and the principles that which theoretically the Democrat Party actually stands for. Now, the Huffington Post was very quick to defend Obama on it. Pension funds, similar to other huge mutual funds, contain a huge mix of diverse investments in domestic and foreign firms. Investors don't actively manage these funds, rather they are run by managers who buy or sell these shares. With broad funds like pension funds or ones that follow the Standard & Poor's 500, you may have some questionable options, and for better or worse, that gives diversification, said Brooks Herman, the head researcher at Brightscope, a financial information company. Now, when called on this, Barack Obama said that he didn't know that those things were in there. And it's very likely he doesn't actually know that they're in there. But you would have to know that there's some unethical things that were being invested in. After all, it is financial investment after all. So he had to know that they were in there somewhere. But you could reasonably say that he actually didn't know it was there. But come on, you actually really knew. Now, when it was pointed out that Barack Obama was investing in Chinese companies, like Mitt Romney is also doing, although Mitt Romney is the one who gets the criticism for it, this is how the Huffington Post defended it. The size of the investment is vastly different. Romney's critics have charged that the Republicans' trust is not blind, makes use of offshore investments, and contains plenty of stocks in companies that are not Republican-friendly, like pharma companies doing stem cell research or Chinese oil companies that have close ties with Iran. The candidate's timing also smells funny. Romney dropped a number of controversial investments on August 10, 2011, the night before he took part in the Republican Party's main debate in Iowa. For Obama, his pension represents a small fraction of his wealth, according to the Obama's most recent tax return. The first couple also has about $325,000 invested in Vanguard Index Fund. They also have nearly $5 million in cash investments, according to Kiplinger. Of course, the actual size of the fund doesn't really matter. He is still investing in Chinese companies that Mitt Romney is being criticized for. So, like, the degree doesn't actually really mean much. If Obama says that he is opposed to this, then why is he doing it? Even now that he knows, he can go around and change it. So, what does it really matter, the actual ratios of that situation? Now, there's kind of a reason for this, in being that, well, politics in the U.S., as well as many other countries, is a complete fraud. I mean, what the Huffington Post is really doing is not just making excuses for Obama for doing what it is that he criticizes his opponent for doing. They're also deliberately obscuring the fact that both these men answer to the capitalist class. Both these men are a part of the capitalist class. Of course, Romney is more one of them than Obama is, but they essentially both parties represent the capitalist class, the financial elite. It doesn't actually matter. Both men represent them. They're both funded by them. I mean, we've all seen these statistics, that the same 5 banks are the majority suppliers of the money to both parties. I mean, all they're really doing is obscuring the fact that this is not really a democracy, and that it's just an illusion lorded over us by the capitalist class. That's really what they're doing here, is obscuring that fact. Because both men don't answer to the people. They both answer to the capitalist class, which is what the system really is. And what they're trying to do is promote the illusion that representative democracy is somehow democracy, when in fact it really isn't. What we need to do is understand this, and that this is not a democracy. The United States is not a democracy. It is run by the rich. It is not run by the people. And that's what this article intends to do. Obscure the fact that both men do work for Wall Street. They both are representatives of the capitalist class.